Picross games. You either love them or you don't even know what a Picross is. Picross is a logic puzzle game where you fill in squares and cross out squares based on the numbers given. And once you solve the puzzle, a picture will be formed, hence the name Picross. They are also called nanograms. Many companies have adapted nanograms into games, and the most notable company would be Nintendo. Jupiter Corporation pitched the idea of a nanogram game to Nintendo, and development began with assistance from Ape Inc. Shigeru Miyamoto suggested adding Mario to the game. Mario's Picross was born, and it released on the Game Boy in 1995. Since then, the Picross series has been going really strong, with only a few entries not exclusive to Nintendo platforms. And of course, Jupiter is at the helm of pretty much all these Picross games. It's worth mentioning that Jupiter self-publishes most of the Picross games, so they really aren't Nintendo games anymore. Now, Picross was all I played during online classes. That's not a good thing. I first discovered Picross through a game called Murder by Numbers, which was highlighted in a Nintendo Direct. The game released in March of 2020 and was made by Mediatonic. Do they sound familiar? Yeah, they released a small game just 5 months later called Fall Guys. So, you might have heard of it. But back to Murder by Numbers. It was essentially Ace Attorney with Picross. I didn't enjoy it very much, but it did introduce me to Picross, so I'll give credit where it's due. And oh my god, Picross is amazing. It's the best logic game ever. This might be a hot take, but it's better than Sudoku or Minesweeper. But back to the topic at hand. Our focus is on the Picross games of the 3DS, all 15 of them. Jupiter developed 14 out of 15 games I'll talk about. Now, why did Nintendo have Jupiter develop Nintendo Picross games on the 3DS? I have no idea. But Picross games do fit the system pretty well. It has a touchscreen, a stylus. Only thing better than that is a mouse. No, not you. Let me just preface by saying that all the Jupiter Picross games are incredibly similar to each other. I mean, it's just Picross. Besides having different puzzles, there's not a lot that can be different. But wait a second. Most of these aren't even Nintendo Picross games. And you're right. What are you gonna do about it? Sue me? Well, shit. I'm back from prison and it's time to start playing these Picross games. First up, Club Nintendo Picross. Club Nintendo Picross released on September 13th, 2012 in Japan. You could only get the game through the Club Nintendo Rewards program, requiring 80 Nintendo points. It also released in South Korea, but you either had to access the eShop during a specific time frame or buy New Super Mario Bros. 2 Gold Edition. Now, first impressions... It could be better. The main menu is quite bland. It's a clean layout, but it doesn't really scream Nintendo. For the actual puzzles, it's a standard Picross games with varying levels of difficulty, which usually just comes down to size. You solve the puzzle, and if you finish it under an hour, you get the picture with full color. Now the puzzles are Nintendo themed, but I'll touch more on that later. Let's first talk features, or gameplay mechanics, really. You can suspend a puzzle at any point and jump back into it later. When you're solving a Picross, a common roadblock would be having no idea what to do next, not seeing what the next step is. Looking at the puzzle for so long, your brain might have skipped over the next move, and that's where the hint system comes in. When you can fill in or cross out tiles, the numbers in that particular row or column will turn blue. The hint system does help, but it can also distract, so you can just turn it off. Another part of this hint system is Hint Roulette. The game basically solves a row and column for you, and these two hint features are unavailable for some levels. The final thing is autocorrect. When you fill in a wrong square, the game will automatically correct it for you at the cost of a time penalty. These features are in all 14 Jupiter Picross games on the 3DS, so I won't mention them again for each game. Now on to actually playing the game. There are 5 modes: Easy Mode, Normal Mode, Free Mode, Extra Mode, and Micross. Easy, Normal, and Extra Mode is just about difficulty. It's silly to refer to them as different things. And Free Mode just turns off autocorrect. The only real innovation here is Micross. Micross is an interesting concept, but at the end of the day, it's just more Picross. You first solve an 8x8 Picross. After solving it, you don't get a picture, but the filled squares turn into 10x10 Picross puzzles. After solving all of them, you get a complete, larger picture. So instead of solving one Picross for one picture, you're solving like 20 Picrosses for 20 parts of the picture. All the puzzles are Nintendo themed, and there's a surprising amount of Nintendo properties featured. Of course you have Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Donkey Kong, Animal Crossing, but even games like the mysterious Murasame Castle, Ice Climbers, Wrecking Crew, Balloon Fight, Excite Bike, and Devil World are featured. But beyond that, there are also puzzles of the actual Nintendo systems like the Game & Watch and Famicom. The game feels like a celebration of Nintendo as a whole. Now the game isn't all good. For one, the music. The music was driving me insane after just 1 hour of playing. It was actually making me dazed. The game is also surprisingly hard on the eyes. I think it's because it's too plain and white and bright. Combine these two factors with the small 3DS screen and you're not going to last long sessions. But the biggest sin of them all, the amount of content. There are only 86 Picrosses and 2 Microsses. This might not seem bad for now, but you'll quickly see that this game severely lacks content. With so many Nintendo franchises to pull from, how are there so few puzzles? Thankfully, we got a sequel just 2 years later. Club Nintendo Picross Plus released on October 9th, 2014 exclusively in Japan. It was available for download through the Club Nintendo Rewards program. And would you believe it, the sequel rectified some issues I had with the first. There's slightly more color this time, and you can see the Club Nintendo logo. More Nintendo properties like Nintendogs and Street Pass Me Plaza are featured. There's also more content, having 105 Picrosses and 3 Microsses. The real shining point, however, is the inclusion of Mega Picross. And oh my god, Mega Picross is fucked up, in a really good way. It retains the rules of Picross, but there are these mega numbers. Numbers that span over 2 columns or rows. The filled-in squares must span the 2 columns or rows and have to be connected. For example, a merged 4 is basically every Tetris piece except the eye, because the eye piece only takes up 1 row or column. So it can be like this, or this. You can also find out what squares should be empty by considering all the ways the mega number can twist and turn. It completely changes the way you solve a puzzle and how you tackle it. It is so much fun. This would be perfect if the puzzles weren't all reused from Club Nintendo Picross. It's not the worst. It's a joy to solve, and I doubt anyone would be able to remember the solutions. But still, is it that hard to create more puzzles? This brings me to my next point regarding these 2 games. There are so many missed opportunities. It's not living up to its full potential, and it makes me so sad. These 2 games are kind of celebrations of Nintendo games and Nintendo as a whole. There is so much that could be done here. Let's talk big. No. Huge missed opportunity. The music. The music in these 2 games are severely lacking, to the point of sickening even. As I said with Club Nintendo Picross, the music was actually making me dazed. And Plus's music is not much better. Imagine this being someone's first Picross game. They're not going to solve Picrosses that fast. The music might just make them give up. Hell, I've been playing for almost 5 years, and I'm still far from good. I can identify common patterns in 10x10 puzzles, but at a larger size, it's gonna take me a bit. The music is so important cause you're going to be solving puzzles for extended periods of time. And Nintendo games are known for having wonderful soundtracks. There are so many franchises and games you could pull music from. Why not add more music? Say you're solving a Mario-themed Picross, the game could play a corresponding Mario track. Or maybe you can unlock background music. So by solving a puzzle, you get some currency. Maybe larger sized puzzles give more of this currency. And there's like an in-game shop to purchase more background music, and you can shuffle tracks around. Just think of the potential. So many wonderful tracks, and none exist in these two games. Such a disappointment. And since it's a celebration of Nintendo games, why not include some fun facts or information of what the Picross you just solved is? Like, oh, this is a rupee from The Legend of Zelda. It's a form of currency in Hyrule. Something simple. I grew up with Nintendo games, but I don't know everything about every Nintendo franchise. These tidbits of information could be a nice gateway for people to learn more about games they've never played or might be interested in. It's like what I love to do in the Persona games. I'll just head into the Velvet Room and pop open the compendium and start reading through the backgrounds of other demons. It's made me learn so much about different cultures and their beliefs, religious figures, fictional characters, fucking cryptids, and if I'm intrigued, I'll go search and get to know more about them. I just feel like including some brief information can get people to become more interested in Nintendo games. Like shit, I don't know anything about Devil World, and I barely know anything about Kid Icarus. These little tidbits could be just the thing that gets people interested and into these games. And while we're at it, we might as well rank these games. Club Nintendo Picross Plus is just straight up better, so the ranking will be like this for now. Moving on, we have Pokémon Picross. What a massive difference in presentation. It's colorful and bright, and there's Pokémon. As we start the game, we're greeted by a professor, just like in the mainline Pokémon games. This is exactly what I would expect from a themed Picross game. Not just a fresh coat of paint, but actually incorporating elements from the home series. Like the background right now, it is pretty blurred, but this is clearly a Pokémon lab, the first place you head to when a Pokémon game begins. You can even see the free starter Pokémon on the right. Professor Tetra here will be our guide, and she walks us through the rules of Picross. And oh my god, why did I get in-game currency for solving a puzzle? Yeah, this is the point where I realized that Pokémon Picross is a freemium game. Now Professor Tetra gives a very in-depth tutorial, but it's also 10 minutes long. Was that really necessary? But after clearing the tutorials, we are finally introduced to the Pokémon. We can bring Pokémon with us into puzzles, and each Pokémon has skills that help us in solving them. Like Eevee here completely revealing 2 rows, and Squirtle here being the hint system. By solving the Picross, we reveal a Poochyena, and we catch it. Oh no. Would you look at that? Missions. I was starting to get pretty worried at this point. But ooh boy, you're not ready for this. That's right, it's an energy system. You consume energy by filling in squares? You can consume Picrite to refill energy or expand the energy gauge, and energy will be unlimited after its final upgrade. Then why even include it in the first point? Oh, you also need Picrite to proceed to new zones, so I can't even play the game now. Yeah, let me spend my hard-earned money, or rather my parents' hard-earned money if I was a child, on Pokémon Picross. To keep playing, I completely reinstalled the game. I could also just get infinite resources by using cheats, but I'm going to experience the game the way it was intended, as a cash grab. Honestly, I quite like the Pokémon gimmick. Pokémon is about catching them all, and it is a joy to see my Pokémon roster expand. I played as much as I could in one sitting, which is not a lot, but according to Bulbapedia, there seems to be a good amount of content here. 312 puzzles to solve, and the game even includes all legendary, mythical, and mega evolved Pokémon up to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Picross is also in the game, and certain missions give you Miro tiles. Collect enough of the Miro tiles and solve the Picrosses, and you'll get a large picture like you would in Picross. And finally, there are daily challenges with Professor Tetra. This game is charming. I think it utilizes the Pokémon branding really well. But the game design philosophy, the very mobile game design, that's where it all falls apart. There is something special here. This did not need to be a freemium game. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. I get why they made it like this. People are going to download anything with the Pokémon name on it. You get them to play Pokémon Picross. If they like it, they might shell out money. They might even buy more Picross games. It's just such a waste of potential. It's charming, has a good amount of content, and I enjoyed the Pokémon mechanic. But factoring in the freemium monetization system, I can't rank this above Club Nintendo Picross Plus. If it was a paid game with none of the mobile game design, this game would be amazing. But let's forget about these gremlins and focus on this one. My Nintendo Picross, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. If Ocarina of Time is so good, why doesn't it have an on-rail shooter and a Picross title? Twilight Princess Picross released on March 17, 2016 to celebrate the launch of My Nintendo, and it could be redeemed for 1,000 platinum points. What? Why is this a PNG? Did they not have the budget to include the title screen from Twilight Princess? But the music? Great Fairy's Fountain is so beautiful. This is what I'm talking about. This is the music I wanted in the two Club Nintendo Picross games. Right off the bat, we are greeted by Midna, and this section is pretty much identical to the tutorial in Pokémon Picross. But you do hear the theme that plays when you're inside the house. So the music is just so good. Gameplay-wise, this is very similar to Club Nintendo Picross Plus. It is much more pleasing to look at. We got the Faron Spring as the background for Picross, somewhere around Kakariko Village for Mega Picross, and Hyrule Castle for Picross. There are some fun effects too. When you fill in a square, it's like Link cutting grass. And it's like Link digging in dirt for this one. This pretty much is just Club Nintendo Picross Plus with a Twilight Princess coat of paint. The only bonus you have over that is getting Miiverse stamps when you solve a Picross. They look like shit. I'm not sure if this is a bonus. Did people even use these when Miiverse was a thing? Wait a minute. There's only 3 pages of Picross and 3 pages of Mega Picross? Yeah, the game only has 45 Picrosses, 45 Mega Picrosses, and 1 Picross. Yikes. This game is tied with Club Nintendo Picross in having the least amounts of content. God damn it. We could have had something special, Twilight Princess Picross. I'm putting this above Club Nintendo, but that's it. It has Mega Picross and better visuals and music. I gotta say, this isn't going great so far. These games aren't bad, they're just so disappointing. The missed potential is what makes this so sad. Maybe Nintendo made a mistake with having Jupiter make these Picross games. If only we had a savior. In 2009, HAL Laboratory asked the age-old question. If Picross was so good, Why isn't there a Picross 2? And so they skipped a step and made Picross free. B. Taking Picross games to a whole new dimension. Picross 3D Round 2 released on October 1st, 2015. And this is glorious! We are brought into a nice cozy cafe, and this is where we'll experience the peak of puzzle games. We get our membership card, and we get access to the library of this cafe. The vibes are immaculate already. You got the genre of music that Persona 5 invented playing in the background. The game has such a nice environment for you to soak in and indulge yourself in solving Picrosses. But how does Picross 3D work? Unsurprisingly, it is not too far from how you would solve a regular Picross. In a puzzle, we see numbers in blue and orange. These indicate how many blue cubes or orange cubes are present in that column or row. Now what about the tiles you cross out in Picross? In Picross 3D, the crossed out cubes are instead removed. Essentially, we're carving out a 3D model from a rectangular prism. So this abomination of numbers eventually turns into a cat. We also get dual numbers, so a row or column will contain connected blue and connected orange cubes. Still pretty simple for now. Here's where things get funky. A circle! When a number is in a circle, it tells us that this number of colored cubes are divided into two groups. So the blue circle 3 indicates that there are two connected blue cubes and one solo blue cube. Square numbers are introduced right after. This time, the number of colored cubes are divided into at least 3 groups. So this blue square 4 could be 2 connected blue cubes and 2 solo blue cubes, or 4 solo blue cubes. There is a bit of a learning curve here, but the tutorials do explain everything clearly. I eventually found the optimal method to solve the puzzles. At least I think it is. And it's to take it layer by layer, axis by axis, basically turning it into a 2D Picross, solving what I can, and then moving on to another layer or the other axis. This game also has quite a bit of content. You get a score screen when you finish a puzzle. You're scored based on time, mistakes, and the difficulty level. Each puzzle features 3 difficulty levels for more replayability. Get a higher score, and you'll be awarded with a better medal. Collect more medals, and you'll unlock more books. And once you've completed a puzzle, you can view the 3D model in the gallery. You can spin it around, and it provides some information about it. The letter A is the first letter of the alphabet? No way! This is exactly what I wanted from the 2 Club Nintendo Picrosses. Now obviously, some of these tidbits of information are pretty unnecessary, but each book of the game does focus on something different. Like this one is about Japan. I thought kunais were just murder weapons. And if you're a sucker for Nintendo and you bought all the plastic bullshit they put out, well, you're in luck. Picross 3D Round 2 has amiibo support. There are 9 additional puzzles to get. Of course, there's HAL Laboratory's babies in Kirby, King Dedede, and Meta Knight. The other 6 are Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Yoshi, and Link riding on Epona. It's a decent selection, but I wish there were more puzzles based on Nintendo franchises. Splatoon and Pikmin and Animal Crossing seem like it would fit nicely with the game's concept. And it is a bit of a bummer to not see puzzles for Zelda or Ganondorf. Overall, this game is amazing. From the presentation, the concept, the gameplay, the music. I mean, just listen to the music that plays for the amiibo puzzles. Everything is just done to perfection. This game is undoubtedly the best Picross game I've played so far. And not just Picross games. This is one of the best puzzle games. This is one of the best 3DS games ever. This is one of the best Nintendo games ever. That's it for the Nintendo Picross games. The 4 Jupiter games were fine, just lots of missed opportunities. So it's not exactly a swing and a miss, the ball just wasn't struck that well. Things are going to get much less interesting from here. Next up is the Picross E series, so be prepared for 9 very similar games. To avoid confusion, I'll be calling the first game in the Picross E series Picross E1. Picross E1 was a major turning point for Jupiter. It was the first Picross game to not be published by Nintendo. It was the first Picross game to come to the 3DS. It released on July 27, 2011, less than half a year after the 3DS's launch. Jesus Christ. Seem familiar? Yeah, it looks exactly like Club Nintendo Picross. Easy mode, normal mode, free mode, extra. Really not much to say here. It functions. There's no Micross, no Mega Picross. It's just a really pure Picross game with 150 puzzles. What do you want me to say? Just look at it. Picross E2 came out in the same year on December 28, 2011. Let's see if it's a step up. It's green! That's right, we unlocked a beautiful new color. It's pretty much the same thing as E1, but now with the inclusion of Micross. In fact, this game has 5 Microsses, which, spoiler alert, is the most out of any Jupiter game on the 3DS. Apart from that, the music is a more stanky version of E1's, and it has 150 Picrosses and 5 Microsses. It's better than E1. You might say, oh, this game has more content than Club Nintendo Picross. Yeah, and the dictionary has more content than the Super Mario RPG menu. Guess which one I'm reading? Oh god damn it. Picross E3, you need to clutch up for the series. It's the same fucking thing! Actually, it's pink. The game looks the same, the music is the same, all the modes are the same. Wait, this is Mega Picross. Where's Micross? Jupiter went one step forward and another half step back for E3. So there are 120 Picrosses, less than what E1 and E2 has. They did add in 30 Mega Picrosses, but then decided to remove Micross? What? Why? It's a baffling decision, but at least it has good puzzles. Like this, is that a chastity cage? I'll rank this above Club Nintendo solely because it has Mega Picross, but that's about it. Picross E, you're losing me here. What am I listening to? The music is different, I'll give it that. Starting from this point, the Picross E games all had the holy trinity of Picross, Mega Picross, and Micross. It also introduced 20 x 15 Picrosses, as well as bonus levels for having save data of E1, E2, and E3. I think you get the point for the rest of the games. They're all very similar. Picross E4, November 20th, 2013. 105 Picrosses, 60 Mega Picrosses, 2 Microsses. Picross E5, it's purple this time with new music. June 11th, 2014. 120 Picrosses, 45 Mega Picrosses, 3 Microsses. Now for Picross E6, oh my god, they're evolving. It's not a solid colored background. I wonder how much more space this PNG takes up compared to the solid color ones. It's much more interesting to look at, and the music, it's pretty groovy. 150 Picrosses, 150 Mega Picrosses, and 3 Microsses. You have puzzles for days. Could this be the renaissance of Picross games? E4, E5, and E6 go above Twilight Princess and below Pokémon. Twilight Princess just has way too little content. And yes, I know I said I hated the freemium monetization of Pokémon Picross, but it has so much more character than the free. We've got no time to waste. Let's see what E7 has to offer. What is this Microsoft PowerPoint-ass background? This is something I would use for a presentation in high school I spent 10 minutes working on. Look, you might be wondering why I'm even commenting on the backgrounds. But cut me some slack. What can I even talk about? I could talk about this new feature though. Have you spotted it yet? Yeah, it's this square here. It's what Picross 3D had, marking squares. I didn't use it at all and I misclicked it a couple of times, but it is nice to have. I can see it being useful for the larger sized Mega Picrosses. There's also a new input method. Instead of tapping the tool you want to use on the touchscreen, you can just use the D-pad for it. And for Picross E8, who is on the flute? E8 reuses the same melodies from E6, but it's a new composition, and it's absolutely beautiful. Are you hearing this? Funnily enough, this game released on December 20th, 2017, a good 3/4 of a year after the Nintendo Switch launched. Even Xenoblade 2 is older than it. Why did Jupiter not capitalize on the new Nintendo console? That's a trick question because they did. They released Picross S on September 28th, 2017 on the Switch. So why make E8? Picross E9 released on August 8th, 2018. It was the final Picross game to be released on the 3DS. It came out on the same day Simon, Richter, and King K. Rool were announced for Smash. It was one of the final games to be released on the 3DS, and it also came out after Picross S2. That's probably why the game didn't make it out of Japan. We were robbed of this Picross experience. Is it better than E8 though? The marking tool is in a better position, so you won't click it as easily. But I also couldn't access the extra levels because I don't own the Japanese versions of E1, E2, and E3. There's no debate, E7, E8, and E9 are the best Picross E games. They all have 150 Picrosses, 165 Mega Picrosses, and 3 Microsses. I guess the only real complaint is the lack of innovation. They're all very cookie-cutter games. E8 comes out on top with the best music, and E9 is slightly better than E7 since it has better placement of the marking tool. So that's all the Jupiter Picross games done. Or is it? Be prepared to witness greatness. I'm being completely serious when I say this. Sanrio Characters Picross is the best Jupiter-made Picross game. Yes, Sanrio Characters Picross. This is the best one. And I'm telling you right now that it's not even close. Hello Kitty and crew are not fucking around. This is the most effort Jupiter has put into a Picross game. Look at the title screen. It's very colorful and clearly represents the Sanrio brand. It's got your favorite Sanrio characters, like this small British girl. Just compare it to Club Nintendo Picross. Even the tutorial is animated. Look at the transitions. It's the silhouette of the Sanrio characters. But appearances aren't everything. The actual game is what matters. So let's start playing it. Everything is here. Picross, Mega Picross, and Micross. Micross here is pretty similar to how it was in Pokémon Picross. Some puzzles will give you Micross shards and they're indicated by this icon. Solving a puzzle gives you a cute little animation and some stickers. I stocked up on quite a few of them and what can you do with it? Remember the decor section on the title screen? We can use the stickers we collect to design our own title and menu backgrounds. And oh boy, there's a ton of stickers to choose from, and even more to unlock. There are pages on pages of decorations. Let me design something. I decided to show my love for the UK with this board. I don't have any. Wow, just take it all in. Now I can stare at this horrifying abomination while I solve the puzzle. I tried making something more pleasing to look at. Here's Pom Pom Pullin playing with himself. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Sanrio characters Picross. Wait, what does this say? View profile. Who the fuck are you? After completing a puzzle, you get to learn more about whoever was featured in it. Like Halina Zumi. Yeah, I still don't know who the fuck you are. But some of them are interesting. Like this owl who knows a lot about Maryland. I mean, if I had to base my entire personality off something, I would choose a state too. I'd pick... But all joking aside, I genuinely learned some things about the characters. Like Melody. You're telling me this is not a part of her body? I've got my whole life thinking her ears were pink. Oh, minor spelling error. I changed my mind. This game fucking sucks. Sanrio characters Picross is a better version of Picross E9. It has 15 less Mega Picrosses, but that's because you get bonus stages in E9 for owning E1, E2, and E3. The theming is much more interesting. The effort they put in is tenfold of all Picross E games combined. And the decorating, you could spend hours there if you were a Sanrio fan. It's not amazing, but let me remind you what Twilight Princess had. Miiverse stamps. And they look like shit. So, Sanrio characters Picross, you get the honor of being the second best Picross game on the 3DS. And that's it. I've gone through all 15 Picross games on the 3DS, and I'm walking away from this experience as a new person. Life is like Picross. You'll get stuck, the road ahead of you may be unclear. Sometimes, you have to change your perspective or focus on something else. You might want to give up, but if you keep pushing forward carefully, keeping your eyes peeled, and looking out for every possible opportunity, you'll make it through eventually. And your reward at the end of the journey is...
Daisy!
Man, Picross sucks.